12 minutes gone in the game, and I don't know what the score was, in the 20s. And Turch looked down at me and he said, "Can you believe this? Because last year, neither one of us scored 28 points, it seemed like, for the first 3 quarters of the game. You know, we couldn't make a shot, and both teams were making a lot of shots. It wasn't to my pleasing that we were giving up shots, but it was impressive. I thought they played awfully well early, and then we started clamping down a little better defensively, and I thought when we clamped down better defensively, we got a running game going, and you know, we got some wide open threes, and so our barrage kept going, but that's a good team. I mean, that ending, you know, we went on a hell of a run the second half, but I tell you, that point guard is the real deal, Collins, and Herter is really good, and that Fernando kid's going to be really, really good. So this team will win a lot of games. I really believe that. I thought the most impressive 2 stats for us was to have 7 turnovers. Our guys are more fired up about that than almost the win. And the other one that is kind of perfect for this team to start the Big Ten season off, and that's 30 assists out of 32 baskets. That kind of tells what kind of team I have. Most unselfish team around. So I was pleased with 90% of the game. I thought getting Josh Jackson off to a good start was big. Kenny Goins came in and played pretty good. You know, then Nick Ward did some great things, and Cassius, I thought, ran our team. But I thought, you know, a couple of things that don't show up in a box score. Miles had one of his more solid games. You know, he has 7 assists and 6 rebounds and just made plays, something that I haven't seen him do myself. His defense was a lot better, so I give him a lot of credit. Nick, we went to him at certain times, and I thought he really he did a pretty good job. We got a little lazy, all of our bigs, on these step-ups, and that's why Collins kind of hurt us. It wasn't all Cassius' fault. And then the unsung hero might have been McQuaid the second half. He guarded Herter a lot, and you know, the kid only had 2 points, but he's a hell of a player, and I like that team a lot, but I like mine a lot too. So.
Tom, Turgeon just said the thing that stands out with this team is just the defense, the way they clamp down. For you, I don't think there's any more important badge of honor than that, is there?
Well, there really isn't. You know, it's kind of funny because some guys stopped by practice. My team was by there, and that's one thing he said to me when he left. You know, is remember to bring your defense. And I kind of told my guys that in the pregame. You know, that defense travels, defense is consistent, defense is something you can rely on. I was worried. I mean, my schedule got a little bit backwards from what it normally is, meaning, you know, we played all those big games in that 13-game day stretch. And then, you know, the break, and then Oakland was a very good team. And then played some teams not as good because we had to move some games because of that Big Ten stuff. And the last 4 games, when you're, you know, scoring 100 points and you're, you know, making 60% of your shots, it's easy to get up. It's easy to feel good about yourself. And I said, we're going to find out if this team can do that when we aren't feeling as good about ourselves. And I thought for the most part, other than that early stretch, we really did a good job with our defense, and it really got our running game going. We rebounded okay. I wouldn't say great, but that's a good rebounding team too. They're plus 10 coming in, and I think we're plus 12 or something. So that was a war. It was a physical game. That was a Big Ten game that Judd would have been proud of.
Coach, it seemed like a pivot point after you guys were kind of exchanging baskets early was when Xavier Tillman came into the game, and you had a moment where you basically tackled him and patted him on the head. His contribution at that point in the game, how important was that?
Well, I've been looking for a guy that likes to dive on the floor and get his elbows bloodied and his knees, and, you know, I mean, that's, you know, Antonio was here this week too, so maybe those guys are rubbing off on this team, but, you know, he plays with some passion. He's, you know, we're trying to get him more minutes. He's been one of the bright spots. I thought that was a big key, and you know, there was a stretch, believe it or not, when kind of a big shot that the players all said after it was Tom's 3, you know, kind of got us rolling a little bit more, and So that's why I said, I don't know what we ended up with, but our bench only had 2 turnovers. Our bench had, got a bunch of assists, a bunch of points. Our bench did a hell of a job.
When you look at the game that Jaron had, you said you wanted to get him more involved. Was that pick and pop specifically what you were looking at? And I guess with Kenny as well, that seemed like that was there today for them.
Well, we told Jaron if he would run, he gets that trailer threes, and I brought him in today and I showed him some things from the Duke game, and I showed him some things that Miles has done last year where he got some of those. But I need to post him some too, The problem is he got in foul trouble and he only played 16 or 17 minutes. But, a couple crazy fouls, but I'm starting to see him coming, and I thought he did a great job. We've been relying on him to play defense, and I think I've done a poor job of maybe spending the time with him to talk to him about what I think he can do offensively. So he's such a nice kid. He doesn't say nothing, doesn't complain. I told him today I need guys that complain a little bit. Not like Draymond used to, but just a little bit.
You briefly mentioned Kenny, a guy who last year, in a difficult role for him, when he talked earlier this year about being able to hit threes and step out, and we hadn't seen that yet from him. How important, for whatever his role is, being able to expand that and stretch defenses, how important that is for his career?
Well, it is important, and tonight we played him at the 3-some, we played him at the 4-some, when we got in foul trouble with Jaron. So we can move him around. We played Miles at the 4-some, we played him at the 3-some, we can move him around. We got a lot of interchangeable parts, which I think is going to be good for this team when we face different teams that we're going to have to play. But, Kenny was really shooting it well this summer. And then when he got hurt there with the ankle, and he came back, wasn't shooting as well. And I said, you spend more time in here, you can shoot threes, because I chewed him out for shooting a 3 a week ago. And so I think he just stuck it in my face, to be honest with you. And I enjoyed that.
Tom, I was wondering if you could talk about Xavier Tillman, just the effort that you've gotten out of him the last couple of games, and just how much has he developed, since the start of the season?
Well, I'm proud of a lot of these guys because I think they've improved from last year, which is very good, and they haven't, there's no egos involved, I think Tillman's a perfect case, he could be upset, he's not playing a ton of minutes, and we put him on a scout team and he's just gotten better and better. The weight loss, gotten better because of that. He is a couple things that I didn't know. Number one, he lost that weight, he changed how he runs, how he moves. He's got mitts for hands, and that ball doesn't, once it touches those things, it's hard to get it away from him. He's done very well in school. I didn't think he was as good a student. But the one thing he has that I told Antonio Smith this week when he was here, I said, Antonio, he's like you and Alan Aganya, he just soon hit you and look at you. And we need one of those guys, He sets screens, he rolls, he does the dirty work, and he enjoys it. And before he's done, I've been really impressed with the intelligent part of his game. Like today, him and Jaron both, they got 2 freshmen that really understand the game, and so hopefully we keep building on that.
Tom, have you had a game where you saw your depth as much as you did and your kind of outside, inside combo game?
Well, that is too what I liked. I haven't seen our depth. Our depth hasn't scored a lot of points in a lot of these games early, and we need McQuaid a lot. But when Nick got a little tired and Jaron got in foul trouble, getting Kenny in there and getting X in there, Gavin had a basket and did some good things defensively. As you say, we can rotate some guys. We got Ben in there a little bit at the end just because he hasn't played much, and we wanted to make sure that we start to bring him back slowly but surely. And so I think that depth, it plays to our part because of this. I don't have selfish guys. It's one day it might be him, one day it might be Gavin because he might have to guard a 4. One day it might have to be Ben because he can do some things as far as pass the ball and that. Got a lot of different options. And you watch our bench, I mean, you know, some of those guys been around and are still pulling for the guys that are out there. I can't tell you what that means to me, and I hope it's something that the fans, people appreciate, because in this world of Twitter, my commercial in this Twitter world where it's all about me, they just don't play that way. And it's time after time. I mean, that was the first semester, it seemed all cool. Now we're into the Big Ten season. You saw the same thing, and I guess I'm blessed for that.
Tom, you've had several good teams during the past 22, 23 years. What about this team? I mean, you look at the three-point shooting tonight was too shy of a single-game record for you guys. Matt McQuaid, I think he's like 12 of 20 during the past 4 games. And how different is this offense than maybe the offenses that you had in the past? How lethal can this offense be?
Well, I think he can score more points, but, you know, I wouldn't want to be relying on the three. I mean, if you ask me, 28 is probably too many for us. Nick's got to have more touches, but one thing Nick is doing, he's starting to pass the ball out. X is passing the ball. We can get it in and get it out. Those are better threes. So we got some threes off the kickouts. We got some threes off the break. We got some threes off some plays we ran. But, you know, 56 shots. We're hoping to get 60-some. 28 threes. That's quite a few, you know. I'd like to see that down around 24 maybe, but I didn't think there were many bad ones. So I guess that's good. But I don't think you want to live and die with a three. In this league, that's usually somewhat disastrous, even though times are changing. It's still, some balance is good. And I think we have the ability to have balance, you know, and that's something that we got to make sure we keep reminding, because the three looks pretty and sexy, you know, and all that. Oh, I guess I can't say that anymore. Three looks good. But at the same time, it's the meat and potatoes. It's my man getting on the floor. Jared Jackson's on the floor, you know. My 2 freshmen are spending time on the floor. That excites me as much as the threes.
Tom, tonight, even on the end of the Maryland bench, they were talking about how loud the crowd was with no students. I know you've mentioned it a couple of times, but tonight it was maybe the best of the year. Would you talk about that?
Well, those old Izzo people, you know, they're away now, and they got to be home and going to work, and you know, and they don't get to get away. Most of them are probably married, and they got that ball and chain around their ankle. And, now they get some freedom. They get to be out there. They get to act like idiots again. The guys with the grass skirts, they were great. You know, the problem is with the Big Ten Network and Twitter and all the things, you know, some of these guys are going to have to explain to their kids how at 35, 40, 45, they look like such knuckleheads, you know what I mean? Doing things that you wouldn't really think that those kind of guys, but you got to love them for that. I mean, the shirts were great. You know, Mark Hollis, his group does such a good job with those kids, and I thought that was great. I thought, you know, I can't tell you what it means to me to have, you know, Mark D'Antonio there, Ken Manning, our strength coach, he was more excited than I was when those guys were getting on the floor, you know, and I mean, that was important. I'm proud of our fans for the hand they gave Mark, deservingly so, and you know, Susie wins last night, so we're just going to try to pull for hockey this weekend and us this weekend and keep it rolling.
Tom, you mentioned, we talk about the turnovers a lot, how this could potentially be a downfall of this team. What did you see tonight that was different? Has there been just a different focus from this team? Have they done things differently in the community?
You know, in all honesty, we had about 3 meetings in the last 4 days because we had some time, and we had 2 days once, but we didn't grind it that way. We talked more about things. We showed film. We tried to explain. We went over what other teams are doing and how important these different things are if you're really going to be a good basketball, a great basketball team. And, you know, I think a little of it is they got a little casual over some of those games, you know. Coaches never want to admit it, but I think when you're up 40, you play different. But I was pleased, and I was pleased at the end of the game to hear Miles say, anybody turns it over, and he went on. God, I was proud of him. Oh, man, that meant a lot too.
Time for a couple more?
What did you think of Matt McQuaid's performance defensively and what he did?
I thought that was the difference in the second half. You know, for some reason Josh struggled a little bit tonight. He's been maybe one of my most consistent players. And, you know, Herter is a hard guy to cover. He's very good at using screens. I mean, he's a pro at using screens. And we were always trailing him. And for some reason, you know, Josh got caught a little bit inside. Matt saw that. He stayed outside. He still hurt us some. But second half, I mean, the guy gets 2 points. And I give Matt a lot of credit for that. So McQuaid is, as you say, he's shooting the ball better. He's playing better defensively. Tonight he has, what, 7 did he lead us in rebounding? Boy, I'm going to get on Miles and Nick. But he led us in rebounding. He has 5 assists, you know, complete game. And that's kind of, if you look at it, you know, 8, 15, 10, 15, 16, you know, 6, 6, 8. Points were all the same. Nobody got more than 8 shots. You know, we shared the ball, 30 assists. I mean, there were a lot of positives. But as I listened to people around the community, you know, talk about what this team is, it's a very good team, but we've got our weaknesses, and we got to keep getting better every day, and that's going to be our job as a staff, and hopefully the leaders, hopefully guys like Tom Cassius, Miles, to keep us focused on what we got to do, because now we got to take our, you know, our band on the road a little bit, and you know, we've played kind of in some opponents' courts, but not maybe like we will against Ohio State. So that'll be another big test for us.
Tom, just one more if that's okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bridges and the playmaking ability. I think when Jackson had a second foul, a lot of that playmaking was sparked when you moved him to the 4 and running the screen roll replace. The offense was going through him a little bit. Was that something you planned to do today, or is it something that just kind of happened because of the fouls and something just shows itself during the game?
You know, when we wanted to get the ball in Miles' hands more, and so we had seen something in the film last year that we had success with, and that was it, to be honest. And so we thought we could run some of that stuff, and we ran it to death. You know, when Cash is coming off, he was making some great decisions tonight, and you know, we looked like a basketball team tonight. You know, took a punch early, and the crowd got into the game, the players got into the game, and you know, I'm telling you, we beat a good team. Now I'm not apologizing for, you know, they had an injury. Okay, they had an injury, but that is a good basketball team that I promise you is going to win some games, a lot of games. Anything else?
Thank you.
Hey,